Hello, my name's Julian Edgar and I'm the author of the book Car Electrical and Electronic Systems. And it's electronic systems that I want to look at in today's video. Modern cars are full of electronic systems. Engine management system, climate control system, transmission control system, stability control system, ABS, traction control, electric seat control, lots and lots of different systems in a car. So if you're someone who wants to work on their own car, how do you get your head around these systems? How can you understand these systems if you'd be able to work on them, to fix them, to modify them perhaps? Well, there's an approach that I would recommend, and that approach makes almost every system much easier to understand. It has three parts. What are the inputs? What are the outputs? And what is the control logic? Now, let's start off with a simple system as an example of that. I once owned a Lexus LS400, the last of the series. It had hydraulic power steering, but it had an electronic control superimposed on top. What were the inputs to that system? Well, there was only one, and that was road speed. What were the outputs? Well, again, there was only one, and that was to a solenoid that controlled how heavy this power steering actually felt. What was the control logic? Well, as far as I could work out, it was very simple. As you went faster, it reduced the amount of assistance. Now the ECU, the electronic control unit, was only about that big because it was a very, very simple system. Inputs, outputs, logic. Let's look at another system. Let's talk about engine management. Inputs, they're the sensors. That's what the ECU is looking for. Inputs on an engine management system, well, there's lots, but let's take some. Could be the airflow meter, telling the ECU how much air is passing into the engine. Could be the coolant temperature sensor, telling the ECU what the temperature is, obviously of the coolant. Intake air temperature. Knock sensor, telling the ECU if detonation is occurring. Throttle position sensor, telling the ECU how much the driver is pushing down on the accelerator pedal. So they're the inputs. What about the outputs? Well, control of the fuel injectors, varying the duty cycle and frequency. Control of the ignition module, basically telling it when to operate the spark. Control of the idle speed motor, defining how much air is actually bypassing the throttle body. So we had inputs, we had outputs, and those outputs might also include things like a boost control solenoid or whatever. What about the control logic? What's the ECU thinking? Well, the ECU is largely following pre-programmed maps. At this much load, I need this much fuel, and it's checking how well it's doing by looking at the oxygen sensor, the exhaust gas oxygen sensor, another input, one that I didn't mention a moment ago. It's firing the spark, largely according to pre-programmed tables that have been put into the ECU. It's checking on the response by looking at if the knock sensor is being activated. So the ECU logic is largely programmed on the basis of maps that have been put into it in the software by the manufacturer. If you're talking about a programmable ECU, they're the tuning maps that you've actually put in. Inputs, outputs, control logic. Let's take one that you're probably not familiar with. Air suspension control. Inputs, outputs, logic. What would the inputs be? Well, the inputs to an air suspension control system include ride height on each of the four wheels. The inputs to an air suspension system include tank pressure, how much air we've got in the reservoir in order to be able to pump the system up, or if we don't need to, let the system go down. Another input to the system might be a driver control, where the driver can select a higher ride height if they're going off-road or something like that. Another input to the system is road speed, because a lot of these cars lower the car as you go faster. Inputs. Now, what about outputs? Well, a major output will be to the control solenoids for each of the air springs. They're the devices that let air in or out of the springs depending on whether you want to raise or lower the ride height. Another output would be to a fault warning light to illuminate it if in fact the system has a problem. Logic. What logic's occurring? Well, the logic is largely to keep the car at the selected ride height. But it gets a bit more complicated than that. If you put air into the air springs, the car will rise. When you shut the solenoids off, the car keeps on rising for a little bit longer. So the logic has to take into account that the reaction of the system is not instantaneous. There are lags and delays in the system. So when you're looking at any car system at all, what are the inputs, what are the outputs, and what is the control logic? Now, if you're using a workshop manual, the inputs and the outputs you'll be able to quite easily find. The control logic you'll often have to think about and think, well, what would be the control logic in that particular system? If you're dealing with programmable engine management system, the logic will be a lot more naked, a lot more revealed, but certainly factory systems you're going to have to be making some judgments about what the logic is. Why do so? Because that can help you diagnose faults, that can help you see how the system really would be working. I cover this in the book. I cover the idea of inputs, outputs and control logic, a systems analysis of the different car systems, and I think you'll find it a much easier way of getting your head around what otherwise can often appear to be incredibly complex systems. Thank you.